colorectal cancer is on the rise. It is the third most common cancer in the world. In 2020, 1.9 million people were diagnosed with colorectal cancer. That's according to the World Health Organization. In that very same year, sadly, 2 million people died of colon cancer, colorectal cancer, I should say. And that is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths. That is a lot of people. And colorectal cancer actually is preventable in many cases by making lifestyle choices and or changes. Hi, my name is Michelle. I was diagnosed with colon cancer in November of 2017. And not long after diagnosis, I was going in for surgery and had a part of my colon removed and then resected, meaning that everything was connected on the inside. My goal is to share with you what my early symptoms were and what made me go to the doctor, in hopes that if you or somebody you know has shared with you that they're experiencing something like this, they will go to a doctor early and get early intervention, early testing, or whatever it takes to make sure that they do not come up with the diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. That's what I have. It spread, and it spread very quickly. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a few statistics, then I'm going to tell you what my symptoms were as they came about. And then at the end of this video, I'd like to share with you some things that you can do, as well as some resources, some links, and in the description below that you can go and do your own research. So my first symptom was nausea. It was pretty low grade, but it was constant. It was so constant that I pretty much put Pepto-Bismol on my list for the grocery store every single month. It started about 9 months before major symptoms happened. I shared with my doctor that I had been experiencing nausea, and I told him that I was using Pepto-Bismol, and he suggested that I not use Pepto-Bismol because it can discolor your fecal matter and make it look like you are passing blood. So, of course, I stopped taking the Pepto-Bismol, but I still had the nausea, so I switched to Mylanta, which did not discolor my stools. So then, I don't know, I'd say probably in about 3 months, 4 months after all of that, I started noticing I was a little bit more tired than usual. And it didn't matter how much sleep I got. It didn't matter if I didn't sleep. I was just feeling like I was always dragged down. And I really couldn't put my finger on it. I changed my diet. We went largely plant-based because I was hoping that maybe just, eliminating meat and high carbohydrate type foods would help that. And it didn't. I just continued to be more and more tired. My solution was to take frequent naps, but that also made me a little more sedentary, which is really not a good thing. You want to keep active because that just keeps your body moving and everything else. It also keeps your mind active and healthy. So that was my second, I would say, warning sign. So the nausea and being tired all the time were symptoms that I would ask you to be mindful of in your own life. So the third thing that happened, I had changes in my bowel habits. These are not things that anybody really feels comfortable talking about, even to your friends or your spouse or your family, and it's even uncomfortable to talk to your doctor about it. At first, I would say that frequency was an issue. I was always what you might call right as rain. I would go to the bathroom once a day. It was somewhat predictable. It was normal. I never had, like accidents where I had to rush to the restroom or anything. I just had very regular bowel movements. And what started happening was that I would very suddenly have to use the restroom. At first, it usually followed eating a meal. So let's say I went out to lunch or I had lunch at work, even if I took my own lunch. Very unpredictably, sometime after lunch, I would find myself needing to excuse myself from meetings or just in the middle of doing my work and have to use the restroom. And it was so unpredictable and embarrassing, really, because you'd have to be away from your desk a little longer than normal. So I was very self-conscious about that. I also found it very awkward to go out to dinner with friends, family, go over to my friend's house, go to family's house. It became a problem where I didn't want to go on any really long road trips, maybe out in the country or anything, which I love to go out for drives in the country. I always started to know where the restrooms were in my normal path of travel. That had never been something in my world that I had to worry about until this all started happening. For quite a while, I just got into the habit of always having a sleeve of saltine crackers and some butter at my desk, and that became what I ate during the day. Not a lot, just enough to kind of sustain myself. So after the frequency had changed, and we're talking maybe 2 to 3 times a day versus the 1 time a day, then I started noticing that I got diarrhea a lot more frequently than before. But I would get it at first for maybe 1 or 2 days, and then everything would be normal for a week, but then it went on and on and on, where I just got it more and more often. Still, I kind of tried to brush those things aside, make changes. I figured it was just maybe stress from work, any number of things, right? But as it turns out, when you start adding these things up, I should have paid better attention and I should have insisted on going to the doctor more frequently. I didn't want to be whiny, and so I just kind of sucked it up. Don't do that if that's you right now, okay? Please. The next thing that happened was, I don't know, only 2 or 3 times. When I went to the restroom, I noticed blood, but it was like red. And, I had always heard about people who have hemorrhoids, and I had a desk job, and I thought, well, I guess at this stage of my life, it's my turn to get hemorrhoids. I did call my doctor one time, and because it wasn't frequent, we really didn't go into it, and I didn't talk about the other items that were happening to me. Maybe had I talked about those other changes, maybe he would have looked into it a little more carefully. I think on the patient side, it was me not wanting to talk about my bowel habits. That was ultimately the reason that we didn't look into it a little bit more. Now, after that, that's when it starts to get a little bit to be a more uncomfortable conversation, but this is a conversation that you gotta have. The shape of my stool, when it was solid, really changed, and then eventually the color changed. I've been trying to figure a good way to show, like, normal to the part that just made me absolutely go to my doctor, and I knew something was very, very wrong by the time it had progressed. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you visually. This is probably the nicest way to do it, so please forgive. And if you get a little giggle out of it, I hope you do. This is a popular candy bar in the United States, okay? Let's pretend like this is a normal poo right here. Watch the movie Caddyshack or Google it. It's kind of a funny scene. Well, eventually, when I did have solid stool, it became very dark, almost black, and then almost ribbon-like, okay? So it was smaller than a pencil, smaller than my finger. This is common amongst a lot of people who have colon cancer. So it was more like black licorice, but it wasn't like that. It was little pieces of black licorice. Here, let's put it in front of something light. So that is what my poo started looking like, almost exactly. That is disturbing, to say the least. I definitely called my doctor, and I was getting ready to have a physical because I was 50 years old, or I was getting ready to turn 50 years old. So my doctor sends out a questionnaire a few months early, and I answered the questions honestly because I was getting very, very nervous. So after my doctor visit in August of 2017, he got me a referral and sent me to a gastroenterologist almost immediately. I went to the gastroenterologist for the initial consultation within a month. So in September, I had met with a gastroenterologist. I described my symptoms to him, and he had me scheduled for a colonoscopy in within about 5 or 6 weeks of seeing him. So near the end of October, I was in having a colonoscopy. So I have a playlist called Journey, and in that playlist you'll see what happened next and how quickly everything went down before I went into surgery. You figure I saw that gastroenterologist for a colonoscopy in October, and within 1 month I had surgery. That's how serious it was. Now, I do talk about the whole thing and how I found out that I was going to have surgery in a different video, which is in that playlist. I won't go into it here for the sake of keeping this short. So what can you do in your life if you're noticing these things, or what can your loved one do? There are several factors that they know now are contributing factors to probably a lot of cancers, but I'm going to focus on colorectal cancer. You need to be active. If you lead a sedentary lifestyle, if you have a desk job, if you're a truck driver, get up and move around. Make time to move around, okay? It's very, very important that you do get exercise. Even if you go for a brisk walk every day for 20 minutes to a half hour, it's better than doing nothing. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Make sure you get those into your diet, and eat little to no processed meats like salami and hot dogs. Just get that stuff out of your life if you can. It's really not worth the pleasure of eating those things to find out that you have cancer. It just isn't. Another thing that you really need to do, and I am speaking from experience, if you smoke, stop smoking. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yeah, it is. But please don't smoke. Smoking and alcohol, excessive alcohol, are two huge contributors. And if you do drink moderately to none at all, or limit it to special occasions, and don't overdo it. There are all kinds of there's all kinds of advice online as to healthier limits of alcohol if you do decide to imbibe. So pay attention to those. But I will say and stress, exercise, eat right. And you know what eating right is, right? The American diet is not really good for us if we follow the normal guidelines. Stop that smoking. I stopped smoking the night before I had surgery. My surgeon told me that if I did nothing in my life, if I made no other changes after surgery, to stop smoking. She said she didn't care if I smoked right before I walked into the hospital that morning. I did not do that. But I have never had any tobacco products in my body since then. I didn't smoke a lot. I had cut way back, but I had smoked for a long time. And it doesn't matter how much you smoke. It doesn't matter if you smoke 2 packs a day or if you smoke a half a pack a day. That's pretty much where I was. Don't do it, okay? Please. So I want to thank you very, very much for taking some of your time today to listen to what my early signs and symptoms were and how they progressed. If you know somebody who might benefit from seeing this video, please share this link with them. My whole goal is to help people recognize what might be early signs of this disease, and help to stop them. There are a few symptoms that I did not really experience. That was bloating, constipation, or a feeling of needing to continue to go to the bathroom. When I had to go, I went. but I didn't have a constant feeling of having to go. Those are other common symptoms that have been reported. So, thank you again for visiting me and listening to my early warning signs. I really do hope that if you're having any of these symptoms that you will be your own advocate. Go call your doctor, get a test, get a colonoscopy. If they see polyps and they can get them out, those polyps are generally okay, but many times they're precancerous. If they get those bad boys out of there early, you could avoid having colon cancer, possibly. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for visiting me. This is Big Valley Living. And give me a comment below if you have any other specific questions. Thank you. Be kind.